This is Real Housewives of the Kingdom, a sweet space where you'll hear from the hearts of fellow housewives in the kingdom of God, some just like you and some really different in various walks of life. We will talk about how God is walking with us through the good and the hard. I pray you'll be encouraged and entertained as we laugh and sometimes cry together. Most of all, I hope it reminds you we're in this together and you are not alone. Today is part 2 of my conversation with Jen Tomasick, my sweet longtime friend who worked with me at Disneyland. So if you haven't listened to part 1, go check it out, then come back to finish hearing our encouraging and very real conversation. As a reminder, we are talking about body image and how it impacts us through various seasons in life. And there was just too many good things to cut out of any part of the conversation. Before last week's episode, I gave a little content warning. While we don't get super graphic, we discuss having babies, sex and marriage, insecurities and struggles that surround around having a very large chest, as well as details from her medical emergency and surgery. So if your little ones are in earshot, I'd pop in those headphones or listen at a different time. I know you will love the rest of our conversation. Now, what was your relationship with God like during this time? And I ask about your favorite scripture, usually in my rapid fire questions, but where was your faith journey during this time of kind of battling the weight, battling the so the tumor's out, you've gained all of this weight. They figured out why, but it still doesn't change the fact that now you're 60 pounds overweight and you've never been that in your life.
Yeah. I mean, I dealt with it for a really long time. And, often I would, pray to God and just ask him, like, Lord, I don't know what I did. I don't know if I wronged you. I don't know if I went down or like, did I fail you that I feel like this is now a punishment? I almost looked at it as a punishment. And then, you go through this like grief process with it that you start to turn into a different person. And then, I don't need to pray to God anymore because you obviously gave me this for a reason and now I just have to deal with it. So just let me deal with it and leave me alone. And I didn't love that about myself. I didn't love that I left in that way. But I think I needed to go through that in order to find myself. I got to a very dark place. I got really sad. I was angry with my children all the time. I was angry with my husband all the time. I was just on edge constantly. I was miserable because anywhere we wanted to go on vacation, it always involved a pool or it involved being in a bathing suit. And I never wanted to do that. And I always chose places that, let's go here. We don't have to be in a bathing suit. Let's go here. We don't have to be by the pool all day long. That's just not fun for me. And I couldn't be that mom. Like I see other moms who were heavy, but they were in the pool and they didn't care. And I was like, I don't know why. I guess it was because of the performer in me that I couldn't let myself do that. I couldn't embarrass my own self. It wasn't that I was worried about that, but I thought I was going to embarrass my family and I didn't want to be the embarrassment.
I know for me, I had endometriosis and I had a cyst the size of a grapefruit burst my right ovary open while we were on tour on the way to my husband's cousin's wedding we just crossed over from New York into New Jersey and got off at a travel stop and it burst and I couldn't breathe and I was in excruciating pain and I basically was collapsing. And so I was rushed by ambulance to a hospital and they couldn't figure out what was going on. I had one doctor walk in and say, oh, well, all I can think is leukemia. And I was like, they had me on morphine and all sorts of meds just to keep the pain down. It was crazy. They finally figured it out, had an amazing doctor, but it was crazy because when I got out of the hospital, I was thin because I didn't eat for a week after my emergency surgery when they realized it was an endometrioma that burst open and was basically putting my body into toxic shock. So it was old blood swirling around in my body. That was the pain I was feeling because your body can't process or old blood. Like newer blood, it can, if it's a cyst that bursts, that's like newer, it can like process it. But if it's old, then your body starts to shut down. And that's what my body was doing. So once they cleaned me out, I was in the hospital for like a week. And they put me on birth control so that I wouldn't bleed. After like the swelling went down and all of that, I had lost a considerable amount of weight. Felt good. I'm not going to lie. It's like, I know it was because of a horrible situation, but it felt good. Yeah. And then I grew another cyst. Shortly after I grew that other cyst, I tried to shrink it by doing a diet that was anti-inflammatory. So I basically no dairy, no soy, no eggs, no chicken, no alcohol, no sugar, no caffeine. Yeah, really restrictive. That it was so it was supposed to be anti-inflammatory diet. I didn't start it to get skinny, and I was already thinner than I had been previously, but I did this for the cyst, the new cyst that was growing in the same ovary that they repaired.
Yeah.
And the cyst didn't change. I did it for several months. It didn't change. And I was like, okay, well, then I'm not going to do this anymore, this crazy diet anymore. But I did get really, really thin. Like, I remember we went on vacation to a friend's 40th birthday cruise. And I remember I pulled on a pair of shorts without unbuttoning them. And I was like, whoa. And they were like my smaller shorts. And I was like, well, I kind of like that, and I mean, to be honest, I did, but it was unrealistic to live like that. It really, really,
was. Yeah.
So with that, the cyst, I, kept growing. And as the cyst grew, I start gaining weight. As the cyst gets bigger, my hormones are getting more and more off. And then I get another surgery. They remove my right ovary and the cyst. And I asked them to take the ovary because they repaired the ovary and another one grew in like a year and a half later. So I was like, just take the ovary out. Please just take it. And so they took it out, and I still was feeling pain even after they removed it. And then I just never really lost weight from that point, from having the cyst in. That weight just never left. And then I tried a clinical trial for a little while of this medicine, and it didn't really work. And then they put an IUD in 2020 for me and said that would be the best thing for it. When I put the IUD in, I gained, in about a month, I gained about 20 pounds, and I was already about 155 pounds, and I went up to 175, and there I sit today. And it's crazy because I've worked out. I worked out every day of a good portion of the beginning of 2021, from January to July, worked out every day, was really wise about what I was eating. And I literally didn't change. I'm like, okay, I'll do it to be healthy, but I'm not going to get crazy about it because here's my body. Here I am. And there's nothing I can do about it. I can't control it.
I'm in the same boat. The weight gain was a really hard factor for me because I felt like anytime my husband wanted to get intimate or be around me, then he's rubbing all the rolls and the valleys and the peaks and everything on the side. And you're just like, ew, you're grossed out by yourself. So I can't imagine what he's thinking, but he was so reassuring and saying, I'll take you in any way, shape, and form. I love you. I love you. I love you. And it was like, yes, I love you for saying that. I adore you for saying that, but I want to be better for you because I want to be better for myself. I just didn't want to hurt anymore. I didn't want to do anything anymore. I remember being in the room crying my eyes out, and Dean's like, what do you need to do then? Let's do it. Cause I went to a gym. I tried to work out. I did all these, fad diet things. And he's like, then do what you need to do. Figure it out. Figure out what you need to do. And I'm going to support you. And I finally got in touch with a friend of mine, Emily, who, started me on a health journey, and she basically changed my life. And I had the same thing. I had the IUD installed, because I had endometriosis on top of everything, and I had the IUD put in. I'm due to have it taken out, but I really think that that's a big factor because I put on a lot of weight afterwards, and I cannot get rid of it. And even if I lose weight, then I put it back on. If I stop and I lose weight and I put it back on, it's like this. I never had the yo-yo factor.
And so mentally, as a performer, that's so weird because you're used to.
Not me. Yeah.
This
is not me. So I'm hoping that with my next visit that's coming up with my doctor, and she's thinking about taking it out, I think I'm going to ask her to take it out and just see how we go, because it's been 5 years to have it in. I'm hoping that maybe I'm at the very point where I'm going to be having my menopause anyway. And I'm going to be screwed anyway. So it's kind of like, well, I'm going to have to take all that stuff. We'll deal with that when I come. The program that I was on prior to, where I lost over 50 pounds. And that was such an exhilarating feeling for me to kind of get back to where I was, that I started coaching people. And then I lost myself because I got involved in their health journeys. And I was so concerned for them that I started to let go of me again. And I needed to be almost selfish again, to the point where I have to be selfish. I have to do this for me. And it was a great program. It was super easy to do. It was something that just fit with my lifestyle, fit with my family. It was working. Early on in that journey, I was so desperate. I just was in tears all the time. And I was so desperate for just, wanting in the desires of my heart, I guess. Getting to a point where I just said, okay, I cannot leave God out of this anymore. That's the bottom line. I got that feeling like there's something missing in my life, and it's my walk. I'm not walking the path anymore. I've gotten so derailed, and I went on this huge detour. And then I started to read Psalm 24. And he says, may you give the desire of your heart and make all of your plans succeed. And I thought, this is it. Okay. That, when you Bible dive,
Yeah. Yep.
open up,
When you just like open
right.
it and that's the one.
that was what I got. Psalm 24. That was my Bible dive moment. And that right there knew, may he give you the desire of your heart and make all of your plans succeed. And I was like, hot diggity. Let's do it, dude. Let's do it.
Sweet.
So
I believe it. I have faith.
I'm believing it. I'm going to do it. You're giving me a sign. This is my sign. Okay, let's go for it. So I signed up for this program, as expensive as it was. I knew it was going to benefit me in the long run. And then halfway, like I said, through my journey, my goals, quote unquote, to succeed kind of changed. I began to shift gears mentally about like what priorities and what do I want? Do I really just want to be thin? No, I just want to be healthy. I want to be able to be in that bathing suit with my kids. I want to be able to be in the pictures with my kids. And that was the big thing for me. That was my why. I had to find my why. And my why was to just be present with my family. And that was the main focus for me. And that was what was driving me to lose that weight and to be able to dance again and feel joy again and to be able to do the things that I love, roller skate and be active and ride my bike with my kids. And so I started in as a coach. I started to help other people. And by helping other people, I felt like I was filling my own bucket by going, okay, good. That's holding me accountable. I'm able to help them. I'm helping me. But then I got so far off path again, like to the other side, that I started to lose me. And then I remember encouraging so many of my clients, during their time, like, give yourself grace, like, give yourself grace. And I'm like, dude, take your own advice, like, give yourself grace. And then I would encourage them, just talk to God, sit in a room and just talk to God. Let him know your heart. Let him, let him speak through you after you're be silent and be still, that whole moment, And I remember in reading 1 John chapter 5, verse 14, it said, this is the confidence we have in approaching God. But if we ask anything according to his will, he will hear us. And so that was my driving force when I was coaching everyone. He's going to hear you guys. Like, you have this comfort. We have this like relationship, and it's super comfortable with God. He's there anytime we need him, no matter where you are. You're in the bathroom at Walmart, you're anywhere you need help. Talk to God. He can hear you. There's a whole lot going on in this world, but he's going to hear you. And I cannot tell you how many times I asked for grace and patience and strength and peace. And I mean, it was often, and I felt, boy, I'm really abusing this if I'm not giving anything back to him. I'm really abusing my privileges here. But then, Romans 12:12 will tell us, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. And that's really what it came down to for me, was like, this is it. I have to be patient. I have to be, joyful, and I have to be like faithful. And those were the things that really drove me to find balance. And mentally, my brain started to change. And there were times that I was fighting him still. And I know it's like, I got this, Lord. I know. Stop telling me what to do. Just get in the backseat. Shush. I got this, And then all of a sudden it was like, oh no, Jesus, take the wheel, because I can't do this anymore. I need you. I forgot. And it was really that moment where I was like, just, okay, you're right. I know my path is written. I can't change course. You're going to fight me on this because it's already written for me and it's beautifully made. So, anyway, he basically took the wheel. He drove me down that path, and I have now hopefully found some of the joy that I was missing. And I continue to try to pass that on to people, because I know it's a lonely, lonely place to be. I know how desperate it gets. I mean, you guys, if I'm going to be 100% totally like transparent and honest, there were times that I sat in the bathroom contemplating suicide. And it was so difficult, because it's like, why would I ever get to that point over a stupid body image?
Yeah.
That was stupid. And I think back on it and go, how freaking selfish was I? That was just selfish. And I'm so glad that I was strong enough and to resist, the enemy at that moment, and just say, get out of here. I'm done talking to you. I'm done letting you make these decisions for me. I'm not going to be that person anymore. My children are amazing. They're a struggle. I mean, anybody who has kids knows how hard it can be, but I'll take that struggle every day if I have to, just to make sure that they're okay, to make sure that I know that I'm alive and whatnot. But, reach out to people that are in like-minded communities, because I think it's really important to have a great, tribe, if you will. And I know around me, I had beautiful girls that I used to travel with, and they worked at Disneyland, and they all stayed very skinny their whole lives. And it was so hard to go on vacation with them and still go, gosh, they're so pretty, and everybody talks to them and nobody talks to me, and woe is me. I felt very much like Eeyore at times, with the cloud looming over my head and gloomy and doom. And they're like, hi, I'm beautiful, and the sun is shining on me. But it's not about that. It's really
Yep.
about finding that mental space. And once I got into my program and once I got myself healthy, it was amazing the changes that came. I
Mhm.
mentally turned myself around.
Yeah. What you were saying earlier also about making sure that you knew why you were being healthy, because I think that is a really important piece, because if it's just to be skinny so you can be as skinny as your friend who you travel with or whatever, one day that's not going to be enough. You're going to reach that and there's going to be another thing. And that's why it's
Absolutely.
so important to know the why, and the why is being healthy for your family. And when you're healthy physically and mentally, you can also be used for God more and wider, and
Yeah. Yeah.
all of that. Because I know that when I was doing that crazy diet, even though I say, and I always call it my crazy diet, and it's the only diet I've ever been on, but I remember that I started judging people. I got to a point where I would see somebody have like a Coke and like a soda in front of them, and I would be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're drinking Coke. It's so bad for you. Oh my gosh, you're drinking out of a plastic water bottle. Do you know how many parabens are in that?" And I mean, the Lord told me, like, stop. This is not important. The body is more than what we eat and what we drink. It is your
Mhm.
spirit, it is your soul, and that's what God cares about. And God wants us to be, He wants us to be healthy because He made these bodies to thrive.
Yeah.
And that for a reason, and for us to be here, and they have to function for you to be a mom and a wife, and for
Absolutely.
you to be able to move around and do the things He's called you to do, be a makeup artist and be a light in that world. I think it's so easy, and especially as entertainers, I think when you want to be thin because of that, because you're like staying in shape for a role or for a show, or there's this little bit of like, oh, well, I'm doing it for this and it's my job. But I know for me, it became very difficult, the transition between being a professional acrobat and dancer performer and being paid to work out, then to try and work out after that was really difficult because
Right.
I didn't like it. I hated it.
Yeah.
I loved dancing and doing acrobatics, and I loved all of that stuff.
Same.
And so, but then you don't have the time when you are not being paid to do all of that. You don't have the amount of time. Like when I was doing Cirque de la Mer, I was doing six in the summer, sometimes 6 shows a day, right? 6 acrobatic shows a day where I'm using my muscles, I'm running, I'm,
The full day's
just
work.
yeah, and on my days off, I go train, um, so to stay in shape, whatever. But it's like, but I don't have the time when I'm not doing that. I can't give I can't give 6 hours a day of my time to working out. That is not conducive to life.
Nor do you
And
want it to be. You don't have the
no,
motivation to get up. It's like, I know they say, oh, get up and go to the gym and you'll feel all the better for it. It's true, but it's
yes,
just that moment of going, but I have laundry and I have school and I have this and I have that and I have that and this and that also needs my attention. Do I just give myself that hour? And most of the time, we're not selfish enough to do that.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
give it to other people. It is an
yeah,
hour. It is. And if
yeah,
you can just give yourself that minute, even in the morning, like I had to get up early and I'm not a morning person. I had to
yeah,
start
neither am
getting
I.
myself up in the early quiet morning, like at 6 o'clock. That's when I could have a full cup of coffee. I could deep couch sit. I could just be quiet in my house if I wanted to. But I also chose that was the moment that I felt most connected to earth and God and everything else. And so
Mhm.
I'd go outside and I'd bury my feet in the grass with the sun shining on me, and I feel the warmth. And I would just know like, oh, I could breathe for a minute before the
Mhm.
crazy happens, before my children get up and request everything of me. This is
Was
my
that
moment
part
to
of
give.
the new thing that you did?
Yes, that was part of
Okay,
my
that's
process. So it was
awesome.
just getting up earlier. First thing, this is the thing. We get so connected to hit the ground running right the moment we wake up
Mhm.
because we got to get the kids up, got to go, 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 got to get to work, got to
Yes.
get to my coffee, got to get this. I would turn around and make my bed and I felt accomplished. That was the
Yeah.
first thing I told myself. I'm going to
Uh-huh.
make my bed because half the time
Yeah.
I jump out of bed and I leave it. I'm going
Yeah.
to turn around and make my bed. And it's made. Look, right there.
Yep.
It's made. and and thank God, because that was one thing that if anything in this day, I got one thing accomplished. And then tomorrow I
Yeah.
think I'm going to make my bed and do something else. And I started to add on and add on and add on. I didn't want
Mhm.
to add to my plate to make myself busy, but I
Mhm.
wanted to add on to my process. So with my eating
Yep.
program, Which if anybody wants information, I would be more than happy to give this to you. If that's something that you're
We
really
can link it. We'll link it
in
in
a
the
pot.
show
Yeah.
notes. Yeah, you
But
can send me the info and
you
I'll
just,
link it in the
yeah,
show notes.
but literally it was one of the things that, like I said, it was a very time sensitive situation. So every morning I knew I was going to have my first, fueling, as you will, or my feeding
Mhm.
at 7 o'clock. So every day I woke up at 7, whether it was on a Saturday or a Tuesday. I was
Mhm.
up at 7, 6:45, like I said, 6:30 to give myself my moments. But then I would have that, my meal in the morning, and then I felt accomplished. I would go out for a little walk. I'd do a little stroll in between, come back, get the kids up, and then, start my
Do your day.
hecticness. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and I would continue on throughout the day, but I had to set timers for myself because of my busyness. I had to set timers for myself to remind myself to eat. Oh, go eat, go eat, go eat, go eat, because it's
Right.
super healthy to have like those 6 meals in a day and keep your water
Yeah.
on. And I had to drink. I mean, I had a timer set for my water, and here I am with my gallon
Yep.
jug, and
Yep.
and even though I had my coffee with you because it was morning, and I thought I'll have my coffee with you. I mean, I
Yeah.
got my 40 ounce. I'm rolling, but drinking my sipping, and but
Made me
it's
thirsty
important,
showing me your water.
right?
Mine.
But I'm so terrible at drinking water, and that is such a key point, and it's so
Yes.
hard for us to mentally want to drink water because there's so many other delicious, delectable things to drink in the world.
Mhm.
But water just does such wonders for our heart, our soul, our mind, our body, our skin, everything, and it's such a wonder. So, that was really hard for me, and that was a lot of my growing up was, okay, stop trying to be so resistant against things you don't like. It's like eating Brussels sprouts when you're a kid. Just try it again and give it a whirl. Give yourself 30 days, because it takes 30 days to create a habit and
Right.
only one to break it. So
Mhm.
that's what I did, is I started to just set a pattern, and I set a course, and I stuck to it. I had timers to remind me so that I wasn't getting off course. And that's where my success came in, was really
Mhm.
just giving myself
Yes.
more structure,
Yeah.
more structure.
Well, and structure is good. Like God, the way God designed the earth, it is very structured. We have seasons, we have
Mhm.
hours, we have days, we have moon and sun, and it cycles, and we have things that happen every day because God decided to make it structured. And aren't we glad that he did? Aren't we glad that he's like, not like, well, we'll see if the sun rises today, I don't know if it will or not, like,
Right.
and so it's a beautiful thing. And I think sometimes that can sound very to some people that might sound, well, that's just too hard. But I'm sure just even the process of you getting up and taking a minute to like even go outside and stand in the grass or feel the sun, or like sit and have your coffee, even just sitting and talking to God, open your Bible. Yes.
Yep.
But talk to God, talk to
Yep.
him,
Yep.
talk to him about absolutely everything. And I think that getting our mind right, and our minds and our bodies and our spirits are so interwoven, so interwoven. And I truly believe that when mentally we aren't well, and we're too busy or we're too whatever, it's going to be difficult for our bodies, even if we are doing all of the workout routines and we're eating all the right things. We're not going to feel great, or it's not going to produce the results that we think we want, because our
Right.
minds and bodies are so interwoven. So I'm sure that helped with your success too. It's so cool that was part of the program. Hey guys, I'm here with my hubby, and as you know, we are super passionate about equipping people to thrive in marriage.
One of the best ways you can do that is by having premarital counseling. We did it, and it was super helpful in learning how to communicate and dive into subjects that should be discussed before you reach the altar.
Many couples are finding it unnecessary, or are not plugged into a good church where they can find good counsel in that area. Or they just think counseling is for couples with problems, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
We are excited to announce a new project we are working on. We will be offering an online premarital guidance course that you can purchase and access on your schedule.
We think everyone should go into marriage with the right tools to thrive and not just survive. We don't have a launch date just yet, but stay tuned to hear more on the podcast, which, by the way, will now be airing an episode every week.
And now, back to the show.
So when was your daughter born? Just out of curiosity, for like timeline's sake, was it after? So it was after the brain tumor.
Yeah. So after the brain tumor, and then I found out I was pregnant about a year and a half.
Okay.
I'm sorry. No. They're almost 4 years apart.
Okay.
Basically.
And
She's
that was
3
a
years.
miracle.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's so awesome. You performed for a lot longer than I did at Disney, but you were still performing even after you had her as well. Yes.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
It got harder because after having 2 kids, you've got a bigger schedule to deal with and balance. And it wasn't more about the body for me. It was more about just having a firefighter schedule to deal with, not having someone to take my son now who's in school and, pick him up and then take her to daycare and take her to preschool, get a babysitter, all that kind of stuff. So it got harder and harder for me to take on more shifts at Disney. So I
right, especially as they get bigger and have more things.
So working weekends was ideal because then my mom was off and she could help out, or, not having a whole lot of family around to help was also another struggle. But getting in there as much as I could was where I would go to work and it was like, oh, I have human adult time. So I really missed it and I longed for it because, I grew up there. I started when I was just barely 18 and, I already now here I am in my mid 30s, going back after having 2 kids and, I wanted it to be like a forever home for me. That was just my magic place. So I went back and I started to take on more roles as far as like a lead, where I was just coming in and helping with the parade management and running the daily operations of what it takes to put on as opposed to being a performer. And then when I could perform, then I would step into that role. And then I felt like that's not really what I wanted to be here for. That's not, I love it. I just don't. I want to be here in any capacity, but
that was changing your heart toward what you desired to do.
Exactly. So I continue to perform as much as possible. When I got myself a little bit more healthy, I remember going back, I think I was 42 and I went back to skate with Christine Gonzalez. She and I were original snowflakes together.
So in the Christmas parade, we'll just explain it. So in the Christmas parade at Disneyland, California, there are roller skating snowflakes. So they look like, ice capades, like cutesy little outfits with fluff and rhinestones. And then they wear these giant snowflakes on their backs. And then they skate through the parade, avoiding and dodging train tracks and all sorts of people and floats and all of the things.
Cobblestone, downhill. It's all,
children running out into the street. So this is
all whilst wearing a white unitard.
Yes. So,
which is unforgiving.
So it is no small task that she says she's 42 and goes back to be a snowflake. It's pretty impressive.
So I went back and it was really fun to be able to be joined by a friend of mine who at that time, when we were 19, we were skating together. So it was just this long friendship that we'd had for years. And we thought, no way in heck are they going to take us back, first of all. So that was also fun. But, with that also came some like snide comments from some of the other girls who were the snowflakes and, not to say that they were in the wrong, but it just shows you like where you're mentally like more mature and you just don't say stuff like that. You don't talk about that. And, I talk about with one of the girls in particular, she was very interested in seeing, my past and hearing about my past of Disney. And so I remember we had a conversation. It was real funny that we had a conversation and one of the girls didn't really care for that conversation. She didn't want to hear it because she's like, oh, I'm so tired of this old timer. Yes, old timer. Tell us again how it was to work in Disneyland in the day. Kind of those things. And I'm just like, if you don't even want to listen, don't listen. Like, I don't care. I've been doing this since you were in utero, kid. Like,
right.
Tuck in your umbilical cord because it's showing, No way.
You get more confidence, even if you're still dealing with body stuff. You do get more confidence and you get a little more grace as you get older. I think that's one of the beautiful things that even though as our bodies start to kind of change and break down in certain places, it's so sweet that the Lord gives us that growth in our like minds and in our hearts to be able to go, that probably would have bugged me at 22, but today, honey, just keep moving along.
Well, it's funny because I grew up with a lot of my family from the South. They'll talk like this real fast, and they have that real cute little drawl. And I remember growing up with them, and they said, "Honey, if you can get something nice to say," the old adage was, "You don't have anything nice to say, don't say nothing at all." Right? Well, my aunts would always say, "If you don't got nothing nice to say, then you come sit right by me and you tell me everything." And they would listen, and then that way I could get out what I had to say, and it was in a very controlled environment. Even though they were the biggest gossips in the whole wide world, they wanted the dish. But it was a way for me to be able to do that. I thought it was really funny. And when you were saying how you grow up a little bit more and you mature and you understand what it's like. But, you can see that these young kids don't get it. It's almost like that movie in Fried Green Tomatoes when she's like, I'm older and I got better insurance,
Yes.
And
When
she's
she
backing into her car. It's like, I don't care anymore. You get older. I was just literally having a conversation with my sisters last night where I can't wait to get older because then I can go back to saying whatever the heck I want because people don't care when you're older.
Right.
They don't care what you say. They're just like, you batty old bat. Go ahead, be yourself, whatever.
Yep.
You're just an old codger. I'm fine to be an old codger if I can speak my mind, especially in this world right now.
There's benefits to all of the stages of life.
But you want to remind yourself of the grace. You do want to be a lady. You always want to have that. And it is true. You can have an outward facial expression, I guess, and have an inner monologue. And you just have to really be good about perfecting that to be the Disney, 2 fingers and smile. Thank you so much. And in your mind,
yeah, you're like, oh, Jesus, take the wheel. Help that woman out.
Those are the moments. So I had plenty of those after going back and performing. I had felt really insecure again. And I just thought, gosh, this is stupid. I'm 42 years old. I shouldn't feel insecure about my body. I created 2 humans and they came out of my body and I'm still able to do this. I should be thanking God for the grace that he has given me and for the abilities that he's given me to be able to afford me to do that. I survived a brain tumor. I survived a breast reduction, that happened in mid-sway. And boy, I'm telling you, it is a lot. I survived the whole endometriosis fiascos and then the weight gain and the weight loss. And it's where we are. It's who we are. And it makes us, it's all the fabrics that are woven into this beautiful, imperfect perfectness Jesus for. And I came to a point, like I was telling you about all the scriptures that got me through, my process. And recently I came across, and I think I shared it with you not so long ago, Psalm 45. I just started to do Bible dipping again. And for some reason, when I Bible dip, the Psalms just like speak to me.
Yes,
it's amazing.
Absolutely. Because David's so real,
It is. And in Psalm 45, there was a portion that said, let the king be enthralled by your beauty. And I thought, gosh, if that doesn't say 1,000 words, it's like, it's not a matter of if my husband thinks I'm beautiful. It's not a matter of if the people at Disneyland think I'm beautiful. It's not a matter of my children or the people at the beach. It's my king. It's my Lord. Yes. It's my savior. He's the one that makes me feel beautiful. If I know that he is happy with me, if I'm the one that he sees and is enthralled with my beauty, then that is going to give me the confidence to go, okay, none of you all matter because he thinks I'm cool. He thinks I'm beautiful. And that's what matters. Because in life, I've always thought, and I know we share this, that in my marriage, God is first. He's my first and foremost man. My husband comes second and my children are third. And everybody else is in line after that. And I feel it has to be that way because I have to be prepared and be emotionally receptive to respond to my husband the way that I'm intended to, the way that God wants me to. And I know that, we're made from the rib and the whole bit and all that kind of stuff. And we walk the path, but, we are also women and we are the keepers of our home and our domain. And we are I call myself the gatekeeper all the time. It's like, I'm sorry, I know your dad. The kids always say, Dad does it this way. Well, I know your dad is that way, but I'm here now. This is how it's going to get done. So, we have to remember ourselves. This is our power. Our power is
the beautiful thing with our husbands. Their strengths and our strengths go together, and we're supposed to be that, and that being that keeper of the home and the gatekeeper of no, I'm not letting that into my home. Like this is our sweet space. This is our respite from the world, and I'm going to create it. And so I'm going to be careful about what comes in, and we're going to be intentional about it. Now, that being said, what have you done with, as being a mom, what have you and maybe you could even just give some encouragement to young moms out there to speak over your children or into your children in terms of body image, now having teenagers, one almost graduating, a boy and a girl, 2 different.
Yeah. And it's interesting because they have 2 different complete builds, which my son is 5'8" and he weighs like $102. He's so skinny. And it's because, he's really just a slight frame. He's a small frame, but he's got beautiful definition. He's got a beautiful face. He's got a beautiful body, but it is an insecurity for him to be so skinny. And no matter what we do, we try to put on weight. He does not put on weight. He just has that mega metabolism right now. And I told him, I said, it'll come. So just appreciate what you have now. Be able to put on jeans. I know it's hard to find stuff for us to fit him because his waist is literally like a 26. He's tiny.
Yeah.
And then, I've got the flip side where I've got my daughter who's almost 14, and she, during pandemic, started her cycle and went through puberty, and that was in lockdown. So I can't imagine how hard it was for all of us to go through in a normal state, how just, oh my gosh, like overwhelming that was. And thank the Lord for the Care and Keeping of You books by American Girl.
Okay.
Hallelujah for those, because they were the ones that, you learn about your body in school, you learn about your body and stuff. Well, what do you do when you're on a Zoom call and you're at home? You're not learning about body image. They just didn't get that time in school this time. And, a lot of the curriculum, and we won't even go into that. That's a whole other topic, but a lot of the curriculum is changing about what they're teaching to, younger kids and stuff, and about their bodies. And so with the Care and Keeping of You, I wanted my daughter to be ready for when her menstrual cycle came. I didn't want it to be a traumatic event. I wanted it to be a beautiful celebration of being a woman, and you're a woman today. Congratulations. So I preempted that, and I bought her like this cute box from Ruby. It had like, the period panties in it, and it had a little stress ball, and it had like a heating pad and lip gloss and cozy socks. And it was the greatest little gift to be able to give her. And I had it in reserve for when she started her period. So her body started to change significantly. She's also an athlete, and she plays, club soccer, really competitive level. And when you're, like you were saying, that girl at camp, when you referred to the, the puberty story, when she was still the boy body, had the little slight frame, the narrow hips. This kid sprouted. She's almost as tall as me. Her hips grew, her breasts grew. And I'm thinking, oh Lord, here we go. She's going to be me again with that poor breast. Like, she's going to have to bind herself. I'm just thinking, oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. I really tried, even when I was heavy, not to say negative things about myself in the mirror when I would look at it. And it was really hard because there was a lot of time running through, getting changes, nothing fits. You're frustrated. Everyone's like, come on, we got to go. And you don't have anything that fits. I just tried so very hard not to be that person for her. And I wanted her to always know that her body was beautiful, and that in any shape and way and form, God created her to be this. This is what she was given as a gift, and she needs to just be happy with where she's at and, whatever, own it up. But I didn't want her to feel like she had to settle for anything. Right. So she's an athlete. She plays. She has noticed some changes in her own self. Her speed isn't as quick as she used to be because she's now, lugging around an extra 20, 30 pounds, from where she was like an 80-pound, an 80-pound child to like now a 120-pound woman, it's like,
there's a Simpsons episode, it's Treehouse of Horrors. I never watched The Simpsons, but I have friends who watch it, and they watch the Treehouse of Horrors like at Halloween time. And the only one I ever saw, they put on, Marge Simpson says, I used to be a ballerina until my boobs grew, and then I lost my balance. and I like fell on the floor. I was like, oh my God, awesome. That is so awesome. Because it's like, honestly, when your boobs start coming in, you're like, oh, okay, everything changes how you do things. Your whole body feels different. You have to almost relearn how to move again.
Yeah. And so she did a really good job, holding that. And with her, I just try to, every time she walks across the room or she's got an outfit on, and I go, gosh, you have such a cute figure. You're such a beautiful girl. I'm so happy for you. I love you. I'm so glad you're mine. And I just try to encourage her little steps. 2020 was hard on all of our young women, I think, and our men, because of the lockdown and because of the information that was, readily available at their fingertips on social media and on that. And I think a lot of, I think the enemy really infiltrated a lot of our children, and it's really a sad thing to say. And I can't speak enough to, to the epidemic, I guess they call it now, especially with my church. They, with these women in there trying to figure out who they are and what they are, and, their pronouns and how they identify. And it's super frustrating because it's like, they have enough on their plate to think about at 13. Just live your life and just be you. And I try to encourage her with that, because I feel like a lot of her friends are going through that right now. And it's been a struggle between us. It's put a big, it's put a big wedge in our relationship. But, if we can just communicate with our kids and be real with them, and, if they do feel that way, then talk to them about it, communicate with them, because
be
this
present.
really very well, be present, just be present and pray about it. That's the key, is just to pray about it with each other, and to be open for that. So, with my kids, it's been hard to be a mom, but having a healthy image is super important. Also eating, having that lifestyle with being busy has been super difficult for us. And I know, most of the younger moms, especially when I was a younger mom, you know, your kids only want to eat like chicken nuggets and hot dogs. And
Yeah.
it's true. It's like mac and cheese. And it's like, okay, well, if that's the case, you can't just keep going to McDonald's every day and getting chicken nuggets. You got to find the alternatives. So there's
Right.
so many more great, plant-based, vegan chicken nuggets that taste delicious and they look exactly like McDonald's, especially if they're fried up a little bit, in coconut oil on your thing. So, it just takes a little bit of effort and to hear that word coming from my mouth to hear, to the young mom's ear, she's like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. I have so much on my plate. I get you. I feel you. I hear you. I see you. I know exactly where you've been. But that's where being part of a community of women or in your church, you get to get those tricks of the trade and what helps and what makes a healthy lifestyle. So I've always tried to have a healthy body image with my kids. I've tried to, make challenges for them on occasion when I saw that they weren't responding or they wanted to sit in their rooms and be on their computer. I'd say, okay, for 20 minutes right now, we're going to set a timer. We're going to go outside. We're going to do an obstacle course. I set it up outside and, it's grab your bike and ride your bike around this little obstacle course, then jump off of that and jump on the scooter and go down the chalk line that I made down the middle of the street. And I luckily have a really amazing neighborhood in a little cul-de-sac. It's like Hidden Valley. It's amazing. The women over here are just the same. They all are very active, very wanting to be outside. So my kids have always led a very outdoor lifestyle. Like we live outside, and now with the pandemic, it's created indoor hermits. And so it's like, oh no, we've got to break this again.
I heard a young mom recently saying it's weird because I can't even ask my mom or my grandma, how did you do this thing? Because we have so many new things coming in. Like there's some stuff that of course they take as wisdom, but you have to be really intentional. Like you said, even before the pandemic, screens and things like that were pulling kids to not be active and that sort of a thing. But then now with the pandemic, then you have that additional pull that has definitely been a challenge. So that's really good advice. Be in community and talk to your kids, communicate with them. I just think that is so important.
It is.
So I think we are going to start closing, but I just wanted to ask if there was any other wisdom or advice you wanted to share. If someone's out there listening and they've done the thing where they sat and have contemplated, I don't know if I want to live, or where you look at an old photo of yourself and you say, oh, I wish I was that skinny. Anything you would say in closing to encourage them?
There's so much that goes on in our minds. And I just would like to say, I say it all the time to myself. I say it to my clients. I say, just give yourself grace. And I can't say that enough because it's one of the hardest things for us to do, but it is really one of the things that we absolutely need to do because we are not perfect. We are going to fall. We are going to get ourselves back up. It's really the rebound. That's what I tell my kids. So you failed or you didn't do something to 100%. Okay. How do you recover from it? That's really what it is. It's about the recovery. So I would just encourage people, like, if you're thinking about those moments, if you're really sad, what's your recovery? What's your plan of action? What are you going to do about it? I know that we can talk about it. We can say things, but until we take that plan and we create a plan of action, there's really nothing you can do until you decide in your own heart that you need it, that you want it, that's for you. So really find that rebound. If you fail, we are going to fail. That is inevitable.
Yeah. We're only human. I love that. Just that grace for yourself. And I think that is such a good mind switch to change to, okay, well then what's the plan of action for it? And not like, oh, I feel really bad about myself today, so I'm not going to eat, but changing that and going, hey, maybe today instead of that'll remind me to get out and maybe get a little bit active or something, or maybe I'll take a walk tonight. Let me take a walk tonight and starting small.
Has to be a reaction. If you're gonna choose to have an alcoholic beverage, and you're gonna choose to indulge in some ice cream or a pie or whatever, fine. That's life. We have to live life. We have to enjoy it. We have to enjoy the food. And what you do about it, like you said, take a walk. You just have to have a plan of action. You can't just do it and then not expect to have a consequence. You have to do it and then do something about it. So get up and do some activity. One of the greatest things, and I think is super fun, if y'all have like a Wii, I didn't know this, but that Just Dancing, it's just, for me, I love dancing.
Yeah.
And coming from a dancer's perspective right now, with a lot of the dance studios still closed in California, not being able to be in because of the mask mandates. For me and my kids, my daughter loves to get on Just Dance, and I didn't realize that they have a Just Sweat. You just put it on, and it's all hard songs, and it continually goes for like 20 minutes. It's like the best little workout, but it's so fun because you're playing a game. And so do something like that just gets a little bit of that, frustration, I guess, we build up in our bodies. Like, you just got to do something that gives you joy. Put on a music that inspires you, like Amy Grant's Sing Your Praise to the Lord. That.
Yes. I love that song.
And it gets going. It's like you feel like you're like orchestrating this, conducting this orchestra, and kind of sing your praise to the Lord. I mean, get it out there and sing it, and just from the rooftops. If nobody's around, just sing and sing and sing. And you just have this like exhilarating feeling. It's like you need that joy. You need to find that joy. Don't lose it. And you lose it when you become a mom. You lose it when you become a spouse. You lose it when you give yourself, so much of yourself, to other people. We forget about ourselves. Don't forget about yourself. Be a little bit selfish. It's okay in this instance. It's okay. But give your time to God, because that way you're staying on track. You're staying true to Him, and He's going to give back to you.
And keeping it in that order, like you said, like God and your husband and your children and all of these things, how God has designed for our bodies to work, for our lives to work healthy, and He's put it in Scripture. And so get in your word, talk to God, tell Him your frustrations, tell Him your difficulties, and just be honest, because we all struggle.
Seriously, guys, it is the cheapest form of therapy.
Yep. Amen.
You don't have to pay anybody. You don't have to worry about it being spread anywhere. I mean, that is not repeated. It is just the best therapy to sit there with an empty chair or in an empty space outside and just talk.
Yep.
Say what your heart is saying,
Amen.
He's listening. He is always listening.
I love that. Well, this conversation was awesome, and we could probably talk for
I know. Sorry, thanks for hanging in with us, guys. I'm a winded, wind house. I mean, I can talk
totally
forever.
fine. And there's a lot to say about it, and this likely won't be my only series about it, but I just wanted to start the year off with that. Thank you so much for being on. I'm going to do a couple, we already talked about scriptures, so I'm going to do the other rapid fire questions. Okay. What is your favorite vacation or place that you've been to, and why?
So many places I love. I have so many favorites, but if I have to narrow it down, the one place that I feel most at ease, and I grew up there and I spent the majority of my life, is the Colorado River. I could sit at the Colorado River. Primarily because when I grew up, we didn't have jet skis. We didn't have boats. We just kind of floated down the river. We made sandwiches. It was very simple life, no TV. We played charades. It was all about the bonding, all about family, all about just being present with one another. And I think that's what's missing when we go on vacation. We get so tied up going on a jet ski ride or a parasailing ride or going to this location or going to Walt Disney World and seeing all these places. And you're making moments and you're making that magic, but you're not connecting. And so for me, I love, and I got to take my kids the first time to the Colorado River last year, and it was exactly what I needed. And it was the dose that I was looking for.
That is so sweet, especially after such a
long year. Yeah.
That is awesome. I love that. Now, what about your favorite TV show or movie?
Goonies, always. Goonies never say die. I always identified with Chunk, and whatnot. It just was a fun, I liked the adventure. I loved the location of where they, in Astoria, where they lived. And I just loved it. And my sister and I used to make a joke that every time it rains, let's watch the Goonies, because that seems like the cloudy moment. And in Southern California, we barely got that because we hardly rain here. But, we tried to make it ourselves when it was a gloomy morning. Oh, it's Goonies morning. Let's go. And we loved it. And I would say it's a close second with my holiday movie, which is Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. It's a Muppet, Jim Henson's Muppet movie. And that again is it's a very hilarious,
how fun.
Hilarious for me because my sister and I are 50 and 40 something now. We're almost 50 in our mid 50s. And we still make our children watch Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. And it's just like the Muppets.
I've never seen it. I'll have to check it out.
Oh, it's cute.
Yeah, I bet I would love it. That's awesome.
I bet you will.
Now, do you have any other resources? I know we talked about some of the things, and we'll link in the show notes about your healthy living stuff. And then is there any other resources you wanted to share that we can link, or things that you're loving right now that you want to recommend?
I just, like I said, the program that I worked with and on, I would love to give anybody information if they are really, if you've exhausted every diet or whatnot. I mean, this is something that has really helped me, and it's more about the educational side, which I really appreciate about, getting healthy. It's about the mental preparation that is required to making good choices and healthy choices. So if anyone's interested in reaching out to me, you can always email me for more information, and you can email me at Jen Tomasick. It's JenTomasick@yahoo.com. And I'd be more than happy to set up an appointment time to talk to you about this and kind of get what your why is, and figure out how I can help assist you in that way. And then, I'm a makeup artist. So if you want to follow my Instagram, it's MUA makeup artist 8675309, Jenny. That's my little tag. So MUA 8675309. And I don't post a whole lot. I'm not a real big, heavy social media presence, because I really like to keep my family to myself. And, I do like to share them. And every once in a while, I'll share on Facebook a picture of my kids and a little story that's, pertinent, but it has to have meaning. It's not just like, oh, here's my food for the day. That's not me. So I won't inundate your, feed if you're following me. Trust me, barely probably even be able to find me, but I have fun things. And so when I put stuff on, it's very pertinent. It has a purpose. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will link all of that in the show notes so people can click that and you can go follow Jen. You can email her if you are interested in kind of changing your whole mindset on living healthy. This has been awesome having you on the show, friend. I love you so much.
Love you.
Thank you for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, and have a great week. And here's to a beautiful 2022. Whoop, whoop. Bye.
Hey friends, that's it for today. I'm truly grateful you joined us. If you think others would be encouraged by this episode, you can easily share it by taking a screenshot and adding it to your stories or feed. You can also text it to a friend. New episodes are available every Friday. Be sure to subscribe so you can catch them all. You can find and interact with me on Facebook and Instagram at Married Rogers Neighborhood, as well as my website, which I linked in the show notes. If you enjoyed the show today, I would so appreciate if you could take a second to rate and give a 5-star review. It helps more people find it, which makes a huge difference for me and the podcast. Just remember, we are in this together. God loves you, and you are not alone. See you next time.